the hidden doorway within. There is a door inside you, one you pass by every day without noticing. It does not creak on its hinges, nor does it cast a shadow in the light. It is silent, weightless, invisible to the untrained gaze, yet it holds the key to realms beyond the ordinary. This door is your third eye, and though you may believe it is closed, it has never truly been shut. It has only been waiting for you to remember it exists. For centuries, mystics, sages, and seers have whispered of this inner vision, a sight that transcends the physical, a knowing that defies logic. They spoke in riddles, veiling their wisdom in symbols, because some truths are too vast for language alone. But now, in this age of unfolding consciousness, the veil is thinning. The door is beginning to stir. And the question is no longer how to open your third eye, but how to recognize that it has always been open, waiting for you to step through. Consider this. Have you ever had a dream so vivid it lingered upon waking, as though it were more real than the world around you? Have you ever felt an inexplicable pull toward a stranger, a place, or a moment in time, as though some deeper current were guiding you? These are not coincidences. They are glimpses, flickers of light beneath the doorframe. Your third eye is already perceiving, already receiving, already whispering to you in the language of symbols, synchronicities, and sudden knowings. But like a muscle long and used, its strength lies dormant, waiting for your conscious attention to awaken it fully. The modern world has conditioned us to distrust what we cannot measure. We are taught that reality is only what the five senses can grasp, that intuition is a phantom, and that mystery is merely ignorance waiting to be dispelled by science. But what if the opposite were true? What if science, in its highest form, is only now catching up to the ancient understanding that perception is not limited to the body? That the mind is not confined to the brain? That you are, in essence, a being of light navigating a holographic cosmos, one that responds to the quality of your awareness? This is the revelation at the heart of the third eye. It is not some esoteric fantasy reserved for monks on mountaintops. It is your birthright, your innate capacity to see beyond the veil of the mundane. The pineal gland, that tiny, pine-cone-shaped structure nestled deep within your brain, has long been revered as the physical anchor of this inner sight. Descartes called it the seat of the soul. The Egyptians depicted it as the eye of Horus. The Hindus mapped it as the Ajna chakra, the command center of intuition and higher wisdom. Across cultures and epochs, the message is the same. There is more to seeing than meets the eye. Yet here lies the paradox. The very thing you seek is already within you. You are not opening your third eye so much as you are remembering how to use it. The activation is not a ritual, not a secret handshake with the divine, but a return to a state of natural, unfiltered perception. It is the dissolution of the illusion that you are separate from the cosmos. It is the realization that the boundary between you and the world is far more porous than you've been led to believe. So if your third eye is already open, why does it feel so elusive? Because seeing is not just about vision, it is about recognition. It is about learning to decipher the subtle frequencies that have been humming beneath the noise of daily life. It is about trusting the quiet nudges, the déjà vu, the sudden flashes of insight that arrive like lightning in a clear sky. Most of all, it is about courage, the willingness to question everything you've been taught about reality and step into the unknown with nothing but your own inner light as a guide. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It will ask you to shed layers of conditioning, to sit in the discomfort of uncertainty, to embrace the terrifying and exhilarating truth that you are far more powerful than you've ever imagined. But the door is there. The light is already spilling through the cracks. And all that remains is for you to turn the handle. Core themes and concepts, the architecture of inner sight. To speak of the third eye is to speak of a paradox, an organ that is not an organ, a sense that transcends the senses, a vision that sees by not looking. It exists in the liminal space between the physical and the metaphysical, between the known and the unknowable. And yet, its function is not some distant, abstract mystery. It operates on principles as precise as they are profound. To understand it, we must first unravel the core themes that define its nature, the pillars upon which the entire edifice of inner sight is built. the illusion of separation and the unity of perception. The first and most fundamental truth of the third eye is this: you are not separate from what you perceive. Modern consciousness has conditioned us to believe that we are isolated observers in a world out there, that the eyes and ears are passive receivers of an external reality. But the third eye reveals a far more radical truth, that perception is participatory. What you see is not merely light bouncing off objects into your retina. It is a dance of energy, a collaboration between observer and observed. Quantum physics whispers this truth when it tells us that particles change behavior based on whether they are being measured. Ancient mystics shouted it when they declared, "The world is Maya, illusion." The third eye, then, is not a lens through which you gaze at a fixed reality. It is the organ of interbeing, the bridge between self and cosmos. When it awakens, the boundary between inner and outer softens. Synchronicities multiply. Dreams bleed into waking life. The coincidences become too precise to ignore. This is not fantasy. It is the natural state of a consciousness that remembers its unity with all things. The pineal gland, antenna of the soul. Nestled deep within the brain, the pineal gland has long been revered as the physical anchor of the third eye. Shaped like a pine cone, a symbol found in the staffs of Osiris, the Vatican's courtyards, and the art of countless ancient traditions, this tiny structure is far more than a regulator of sleep cycles. It is a biological antenna, attuned to frequencies beyond the material. Science confirms that the pineal gland produces dimethyltryptamine, DMT, a compound so potent it has been called the spirit molecule. Indigenous shamans have used plant-based DMT for millennia to traverse dimensions, speak with ancestors, and access realms beyond ordinary perception. But what if the greatest secret is not in the plants, but in our own bodies? What if the pineal gland, when fully activated, is capable of endogenous DMT production at levels that unlock transcendent states, without external substances? Calcification, the buildup of fluoride and other toxins, has been said to dull the pineal gland's sensitivity. But the deeper calcification is not physical, it is psychological. It is the rigid belief that reality is only what we can measure. The true decalcification is the dissolution of dogma, the willingness to entertain the impossible. The third eye and the light body. In esoteric traditions, the third eye is not an isolated phenomenon but part of a greater energetic anatomy, the light body or Merkaba. This is the vehicle of ascension, the crystalline structure of higher consciousness that exists beyond the physical form. When the third eye activates, it does so in concert with the heart, the crown, and the entire chakra system. It is not just about seeing visions, it is about embodying a higher frequency of being. This is why so many who force open their third eye through intense practices find themselves destabilized. The body must be prepared. The heart must be clear. The mind must surrender its need for control. The light body is not built through effort, but through alignment, through allowing the intelligent energy of the universe to flow unimpeded. The twofold path, detachment and direct knowing. Here we arrive at the great paradox of third eye activation. The more you seek it, the further it retreats. This is because the third eye operates on the principle of direct knowing, a form of cognition that bypasses the analytical mind. It is not accessed through straining, but through surrendering. Not through thinking, but through being. Meditation, contemplation, and sacred geometry can prepare the soil, but the seed of awakening sprouts in the space between thoughts. It is the quiet mind that becomes the clear mirror, reflecting the unseen dimensions. This is why so many traditions speak of detachment, not as indifference, but as the ability to observe without grasping. The third eye sees most clearly when the ego's chatter subsides. The shadow and the light. No discussion of the third eye is complete without acknowledging its shadow aspect. To see more is to face more, both the sublime and the terrifying. The third eye does not discriminate, it reveals. This is why so many who embark on this path encounter intense purging, old traumas, suppressed fears, latent psychic debris. The light of higher perception illuminates everything, and not all of it is pleasant. But this is not a flaw, it is a feature. The third eye's true purpose is not escapism, but integration. It shows you not only the celestial harmonies but also the fractures within yourself that need healing. To awaken the third eye is to accept the mantle of the warrior seer, one who dares to look unflinchingly at both the beauty and the chaos of existence. The living symbol. Ultimately, the third eye is more than a concept or a physical gland. It is a living symbol, a key that unlocks the door between worlds. It represents the fusion of intuition and intellect, of feminine receptivity and masculine focus. It is the meeting point of the serpent and the dove, the crossroads where the human touches the divine. And so we return to the original revelation. Your third eye is already open. It has always been open. The question is not how to open it, but how to recognize its language, its whispers, its silent guidance in the tapestry of your life. Deeper symbolic narratives, the myths that illuminate the path. There is a language older than words, a syntax of symbols, dreams, and archetypes that bypasses the linear mind and speaks directly to the soul. To truly grasp the nature of the third eye, we must step beyond theory and into the realm of myth, where truth wears the mask of story. These are not mere fables, they are encrypted maps, left behind by those who walked this path before us. They reveal, in metaphor, what the intellect struggles to articulate. The lost eye of Horus, fractured wholeness. In the sands of ancient Egypt, a story was etched into temple walls, a story of betrayal, sacrifice, and ultimate restoration. The god Horus, embodiment of divine kingship, lost his left eye in a battle with Set, the force of chaos. Yet this eye was not destroyed, it was scattered, fragmented across the cosmos. Later, Thoth, the god of wisdom, recovered its pieces and reassembled them, but the eye was forever changed. It became the Wedjat, the whole one, a symbol of protection, healing, and renewed vision. This is no mere legend. The eye of Horus is the third eye itself, the inner vision that is fractured by the trials of earthly existence, only to be made whole again through wisdom. The pieces represent the scattered fragments of our perception, intuition dulled by doubt, insight clouded by conditioning, knowing buried beneath layers of rationalization. Thoth's act of restoration mirrors the alchemical work of the seeker, to gather these fragments, to remember what was forgotten, and to see anew. But notice, the restored eye was not the same as the original. It bore the marks of its shattering. This is the secret. The third eye, once awakened, does not return to some pristine, untouched state. It becomes something greater, a vision tempered by experience, a sight that has stared into the abyss and emerged luminous. Odysseus and the Sirens, the peril of unchecked vision. Homer's Odyssey offers another clue. When Odysseus journeys past the Sirens, whose songs lure sailors to their doom, he orders his crew to plug their ears with wax and tie him to the mast. He alone hears the Sirens' call, but the ropes keep him from acting on it. This is the paradox of the third eye. To awaken it is to hear the siren's song, the intoxicating call of higher realms, the seduction of visions and psychic phenomena. But without grounding, without the ropes of discipline and discernment, this awakening can become a shipwreck. Many have been lost in the labyrinth of their own perceptions, mistaking the map for the territory, the vision for the destination. The third eye is not about seeing more, it is about seeing truly. Odysseus's ropes are the practices that keep us anchored: meditation, ethical living, the humility to question our own experiences. Without them, the third eye's gifts become curses. With them, we navigate the unseen with wisdom. The Buddha's midnight vigil, the final illusion shattered. On the night of his enlightenment, Siddhartha Gautama faced his greatest trial. Mara, the demon of illusion, assaulted him with armies of fear, desire, and doubt. Yet the Buddha did not fight. He simply touched the earth, calling it as his witness. In that moment, Mara vanished. This story holds a key. The third eye's ultimate function is not to escape the world, but to see through its illusions while remaining fully present in it. Mara's armies are the projections of the unawakened mind, the fears we mistake for reality, the desires we cling to as truth. The Buddha's touch of the earth symbolizes the integration of higher vision with embodied existence. Too often, seekers use the third eye as an escape, a way to transcend the mundane. But the real awakening happens when celestial sight and earthly grounding merge. When you can perceive the infinite while feeling the grass beneath your feet, while tasting the bitterness and sweetness of life equally, that is true vision. The Fisher King and the Wasteland, healing the inner sight. Arthurian legend speaks of the Fisher King, guardian of the Holy Grail, who suffers a wound that will not heal. His kingdom, as a result, becomes a wasteland, barren and lifeless. Only when a pure knight, Parsifal, asks the correct question, whom does the Grail serve? Does the king heal, and the land with him? The Fisher King's wound is the unawakened third eye, a spiritual blindness that poisons everything it touches. His kingdom, the wasteland, is the world we create when we live cut off from inner vision. A world of mechanistic repetition, devoid of meaning. The Grail is the third eye's divine potential, and Parsifal's question is the key. Whom does your vision serve? Is your inner sight a tool for ego, for personal power, for escapism? Or is it a vessel for the sacred, a means of restoring life to the wasteland? The third eye, at its highest, is not a personal possession but a conduit for grace. When it awakens in service to the whole, the kingdom flourishes. The cosmic serpent, DNA and the vision of origins. Indigenous tribes of the Amazon speak of the cosmic serpent, a being that imparted the knowledge of plants, healing, and the nature of reality to humanity. Modern researchers like Jeremy Narby have drawn a startling parallel. The serpent's twisting form mirrors the double helix of DNA. Here, myth and science converge. The third eye's activation is not just a psychological event. It is a biological awakening, a reconnection with the intelligence encoded in our very cells. The serpent is the Kundalini energy, coiled at the base of the spine, waiting to rise and illuminate the third eye. It is the ancient wisdom within us, the memory of our cosmic origins. When the serpent uncoils, the third eye remembers. It sees not just the world, but the blueprint of the world, the luminous strands of creation itself, the living myth in you. These stories are not relics of the past. They are happening now in you. You are Horus reclaiming his eye, Odysseus navigating the siren's call, the Fisher King awaiting his question. The third eye's awakening is not a solitary event. It is the latest chapter in an ageless saga, the human journey from blindness to sight, from fragmentation to wholeness. Practical integration and real-world implications, when vision meets the mundane. The greatest danger of esoteric knowledge is not that it is false, but that it remains abstract, floating in the realm of ideas, never touching the earth. The third eye is not meant to be a parlor trick, a way to impress others with visions or premonitions. Its true purpose is transformation, of perception, of being, of how you move through the ordinary moments that make up a life. To awaken the third eye and leave the rest of your existence unchanged is like lighting a lamp and then closing your eyes. The light is there, but nothing is illuminated. So how does this celestial sight reshape the mundane? How does it alter the way you drink your morning coffee, navigate a conflict, or walk down a crowded street? The answers are not in grand gestures, but in subtle shifts, in the spaces between breaths, in the quality of your attention, in the silent recognition that everything is alive and everything is speaking. The alchemy of attention. Most people live in a state of passive seeing, their gaze skimming the surface of things, registering shapes and labels but never penetrating beyond. The third eye's first gift is the ability to see deeply, to perceive the energy behind the form. This is not psychic flamboyance, it is a quiet recalibration of attention. Try this. Next time you hold an object, a stone, a book, a cup, pause. Look at it not as a thing but as a process. See the history in it, the hands that shaped it, the elements that formed it, the life it has lived before reaching you. Then go further, sense its vibration, its resonance. Does it feel heavy or light, dull or charged? This is not imagination, it is perception refined. The third eye, when integrated, turns every glance into a meditation. The world ceases to be static, it becomes a living tapestry of interwoven energies. Synchronicity as a language. When the third eye stirs, Coincidences cease to be coincidences. They become synchronicities, meaningful patterns, cosmic winks. But here is where many go astray. They treat synchronicities as omens to decode, like some celestial Morse code. The deeper truth? Synchronicity is not a code to crack. It is a language to fluency. Instead of asking, "What does this mean?" try asking, "How does this resonate?" A bird repeatedly crossing your path, a song lyric that echoes your thoughts, a stranger speaking the exact words you needed to hear. These are not puzzles. They are confirmations that you are in dialogue with reality. The third eye, when trusted, lets you participate in this dialogue without frantic interpretation. You begin to move with the current, not against it. The end of negative certainty. The unawakened mind thrives on negative certainty, the unquestioned assumptions about what is possible, what is real, what you are capable of. I'm not psychic. That's just a coincidence. This is all there is. These are not conclusions. They are barriers, walls built to keep the mystery at bay. The third eye dissolves these walls not through force, but through inquiry. It asks, what if the opposite were true? What if that gut feeling was a message? What if déjà vu was a glimpse into a parallel experience? What if your dreams were as real as your waking life? This is not about blind belief. It is about suspending disbelief long enough to explore the edges of your perception. The moment you do, reality becomes malleable. Shadow work as clarifying lens. Many seek the third eye's vision but avoid its shadow, the uncomfortable truths it reveals. Yet inner sight is like a lighthouse. It illuminates both the safe harbor and the jagged rocks. To ignore the rocks is to court disaster. Practical shadow work begins with one question: what am I refusing to see? In relationships, it might be the red flags you dismiss. In creativity, it could be the fear masquerading as procrastination. In spirituality, it's often the ego's sneaky appropriation of awakening. I'm more evolved than others. The third eye, when fully integrated, refuses to flinch. It shows you your blind spots not to shame you, but to free you. The body as grounding rod. Mystical experiences can be intoxicating, visions, out-of-body sensations, waves of bliss. But without grounding, they lead to dissociation. The body is the anchor. It is what keeps the third eye's visions from becoming delusions. Simple practices for integration. Cold water immersion, a splash to the face, a cold shower, resets the nervous system. Barefoot walking reconnects you with the earth's charge. Conscious eating turns meals into rituals of gratitude and presence. The goal is not to escape the body, but to ensoul it, to make it a vessel for higher perception. The art of silent knowing. The rational mind demands proof. The third eye operates on knowing. This is not anti-intellectual, it is trans-intellectual. It's the difference between calculating the temperature of a fire and feeling its heat. Practice. Next time you meet someone, pause before your mind labels them, friendly, arrogant, etc. Instead, feel their energy. Notice where your body tenses or relaxes. This is not judgment. It is clairvoyance in its purest form, the ability to perceive without filters. Over time, this becomes second nature. You begin to know without knowing how you know. The third eye in action. A day in the life. Imagine a day lived with the third eye awake. Morning. You wake not to an alarm, but to a sense, an inner nudge that it's time. The sunlight feels like liquid gold, charged with purpose. Commute. The traffic jam doesn't frustrate you. You notice the rhythm in it, the pause you needed to hear an insight. Work. A colleague's harsh tone doesn't trigger you. You see the fear behind it and respond to that. Night. Dreams are not escapes, but continuations, a dialogue with your deeper self. This is not fantasy. It is the practical result of a perception unshackled from habit. The invitation. The third eye's awakening is not an end, but a beginning. A new way of being in a world that is far more alive, far more intelligent than you've been taught. The mundane becomes sacred not because it changes, but because you do. Conclusion and transformational call, the remembering. There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the search ends, not because all answers have been found, but because the questions themselves dissolve. You realize you were never broken, never blind, never separate from the truth you sought. The third eye was never closed. It was only waiting for you to stop looking for it and start looking from it. This is the great remembering. You are not a human struggling to awaken some dormant spiritual power. You are the cosmos itself, temporarily focused through the lens of a body, playing at being limited. But what now? How do you live when the veil has thinned, when the door within stands ajar, when the light of higher perception spills into your ordinary days? The answer is both simpler and more demanding than any ritual or technique. You live as if it were true. The end of seeking. The spiritual path is littered with the carcasses of abandoned practices, mantras half-chanted, meditations half-lived, techniques tried and discarded when they failed to produce fireworks. But the third eye does not awaken through accumulation, it awakens through surrender. It is not about adding another tool to your collection, but about letting go of the need to seek. This is the paradox. The moment you stop trying to open your third eye is the moment it opens widest. Not because you've abandoned the path, but because you've finally understood you are the path. Every breath, every step, every mundane act is the ceremony. The sacred is not somewhere else. It is here, in the way your fingers feel the weight of this page, in the way your chest rises and falls without your command, in the way the world shimmers at the edges of your vision when you pay attention. The courage to see. Awakening is not for the faint of heart. To see clearly is to take responsibility for what you witness, the beauty and the brutality, the light and the shadow. It is to look at your own life, your own choices, with unflinching honesty and say, I created this. And if I created it, I can uncreate it. This is the third eye's most fearsome gift, agency. No more blaming fate, the stars, or the past. No more hiding behind, I didn't know. You know, maybe not in words, maybe not in ways you can prove, but you know. And with that knowing comes a demand, act. The ripple effect. When you shift, the world shifts with you. This is not metaphor, it is physics. Quantum entanglement proves that particles once connected remain so, regardless of distance. You are not separate from the whole. Every thought, every realization, every moment of clarity sends ripples through the web of existence. This is why the ancients guarded their wisdom so carefully. Not to hoard it, but because they understood, to awaken one is to awaken all. Your third eye's light does not illuminate only your path, it casts beams into the collective darkness, making it easier for others to follow. The invitation. So here, at the end of this journey, lies the true beginning. The invitation is not to believe, not to strive, not to attain, but to remember. Remember that the synchronicities are not accidents, they are winks from a universe that knows you by name. The dreams are not nonsense, they are letters from a deeper self. The déjà vu is not a glitch, it is a stitch in the tapestry of time. The intuition is not guesswork, it is your soul speaking in a language older than words. You need no more techniques, no more gurus, no more proofs. You need only to trust what you already perceive. Close your eyes. Not to shut out the world, but to see it truly. Feel the pulse in your wrists, the breath in your lungs, the hum of energy in the space around you. This is not preparation for some future awakening, this is it. The third eye is not a destination. It is the lens through which you've always been seeing, once clouded, now clear. The call is simple, live from this knowing. Not just in meditation, but in traffic jams and grocery lines. Not just in moments of bliss, but in arguments and losses and mundane Tuesdays. The world does not need more enlightened masters on mountaintops. It needs awakened humans in the streets, in the offices, in the homes. People who can see the divine in the dirt, the infinite in the ordinary. You are here because you are ready. Not because you've mastered all the secrets, but because you've glimpsed the only one that matters. You were never asleep. You were only dreaming you were. Now, wake up.